This is the video for Scorpio moon. So Scorpio is ruled by the scorpion, the image of the symbolism of the scorpion. It's a water sign and it's a fixed sign. I'll just say, there's a saying, still waters run deep. That to me really describes the Scorpio moon personality. Scorpio moons are intense. They are emotional extremists. So on the emotional level, they will go to extremes. So they will either be completely closed off and not be showing that side of themselves, or they'll be at the other end of the spectrum where they've completely opened up and, you know, showing their whole self. So you're either seeing absolutely nothing of their emotions or very minimal amount of their emotions, and they're probably showing you more of their sun sign, or once you've got to know them on a deep level, say in a marriage or in a long-term relationship or in a long-term friendship, you may get to see the deeper, darker levels of the Scorpio moon. Imagine a dark view of the ocean at night, and there's a full moon out and everything's just completely still, but you just know that there's so much activity going on underneath. That to me is the imagery of a Scorpio moon. And you know, there might be a wind blowing and it might start to stir up, you know, the waters a little bit, and you start to get the impression of something happening there. That sort of gives a bit of a visualization to it. People with Scorpio moon can be hard to get to know because they do not open up very easily, and they have a lot of turbulent emotions going on deep within themselves. Their heart center, there is difficulty for them in opening their heart center and trusting another person. That's a general thing for Scorpio trust, and particularly with Scorpio rising, which I myself am, and a Scorpio moon, trust is a massive issue. It can be very hard. It can take years for them to learn to trust another person fully. It's a lifelong search in a way to find that person that they can trust, or to be able to, in general, trust people, really trust people. They can sometimes suffer from paranoia and thinking the negative first, and then they can have trouble seeing the positives in situations. But that said, because they're emotional extremists, they can sometimes be on the other end of the scale. So if they have felt like they've fallen in love with somebody, they might be experiencing a level of ecstasy that another moon sign hasn't even experienced or touched on yet. So they can experience extreme highs and extreme lows of emotion. The lows of emotion are really, really low. I'm talking depression, I'm talking dark depression, I'm talking desperation, you know. That's when it gets really low and hits rock bottom. They, you know, think of it as also a reptilian creature, and that they're shedding an old skin, and that is a constant thing that Scorpio moon, Scorpio risings, and even Scorpio suns, you know, to some extent do experience shedding of the old skin and needing to release and let go of the past and that old self. They're constantly in needing to rise from the ashes of their old selves and kind of reinvent themselves in a way. But more than that, experience a rebirth of their emotions and really go to the next level, and constantly evolving out of their old emotional states that are keeping them held back. Are very good at seeing through people and scrutinizing others, and they get really strong impressions from other people. Someone can walk into a room and they can get a vibe on that person pretty instantaneously. Because again, it's a water sign, so it's very intuitive, and they usually can sense darkness in others first and foremost. Sometimes if a Scorpio moon person is on a low ebb, they might feel just angry at everyone in general. They might feel just angry at the world, or they might be in a brooding kind of mode, and that does taint and put a filter on the way they're seeing everything, because it is so extreme. If they're angry, they're kind of angry at everyone and everything, so they need time to come out of that state, and they need something positive to help bring them out of that state. The moon in the sign of Scorpio is said to be in a position of fall, and it's said to be one of the most difficult positions for that moon, for the moon to be in for a person. There's no doubt that people with Scorpio moon have many tests, but they also crave the intensity, emotional intensity. They crave that. They need that intensity to grow, and they're not afraid of intensity in a way, and they do gravitate towards mysteries, the occult, things that are hidden. So anything where the truth has been hidden from view, they want to really find out what's going on. They can be attracted to unusual subjects and have passionate interest in areas such as astrology, as I said, the occult, mysteries. They're definitely attracted to people that they can respect. They generally won't go for somebody that they see as weak, as a weak individual, unless, the Scorpio moon does have a desire for power. So, if it's a lower energy of a Scorpio moon, they may get into a relationship with somebody that is not their equal, because it's easy for them in a way if they're on that egocentric level. But that's one level of Scorpio moon. If we're talking about Scorpio moon person on a higher level of evolution, they want somebody who really understands them and really gets their soul on a deep level, and that's really important for a Scorpio moon. Scorpio moons have an intense aura that is very magnetic, and they do draw people to them. So rather than them going after someone that they want, they will more use their intense aura to, in a way, attract that person to them, and that's just their natural way that they have about them. They usually have intense eyes. Scorpio moons and Scorpio risings have intense eyes, and they can see through people's superficial facade to more of the truth of what's hidden behind the facade of a person. They're very protective of their loved ones, so people that they really are close to and respect, they are very protective of. And in terms of the external world, they may go through extremes of either fearing a lot of different things and having a lot of fears, or feeling like they're not afraid of anything. So again, the extremes come into play there. Oh yes, they have a side to them which I'll call the dark side, and probably, I'd say all, moon signs have this in varying degrees, but I'd say the moon signs that have the most intense flip side in terms of a temper, in terms of if they've really been pissed off, then the Scorpio moon's reaction, in my experience, from what I've seen of all the people that I know and have studied astrology for many years, the different reactions, I'd say Scorpio moon reaction is by far the scariest, followed by an Aries moon, Taurus moon, and then Leo, and I think that's, I think their reactions in terms of temper, outburst, and that sort of thing. Scorpio moon, to me, in my personal experience, it definitely is the most intense reaction, because the reason is because they hold things in for so long, and they don't show you that part of themselves for so long, and then suddenly it just all comes out, and it just comes out like this kind of dark monster out of the depths of this dark sea, and it's just like, it can seem to the other person that's experiencing it very irrational, but it's because they repress their emotions for such a long time. So, Pluto, the planet of Pluto, rules that moon sign. It's all about, there's a lot of blockage, repression, there's like a locking of the emotions, and the only people that can really unlock it are themselves at the end of the day, and it can take many years, but it's a process. And they are the phoenix that rises from the ashes, so that is a beautiful thing, and it gives them the opportunity to experience a spiritual, emotional and psychological rebirth, and that's really what they're looking for. They're not really truly looking for drama, they're looking for a rebirth of themselves. They need tools in place to help them manage these difficult emotions. And I'll just add another thing, sometimes Scorpio moons can look like they have absolutely no reaction at all. They look very stoic with their emotions if something happens. Or they don't want to show their emotions. They'll try not to show, because they don't want to be seen as weak. This is really important. And they will hide that. They will basically hide that. And people that they're in a relationship with, they can put through many, many tests, and it's going to take someone that is like their twin flame or their soulmate to really be able to cope with, all the turmoil that they are experiencing. I hope I didn't make this sound too negative, but the position of the moon is in full in Scorpio, but there is hope. It's not the end of the world because you have a Scorpio moon. Anyone's chart, they could have other supporting things. You've got to look at strengths and weaknesses of the whole chart, as well as aspects contacting the moon. And from studying astrology charts since the year 1999, I have found that everybody's chart has strengths and weaknesses, regardless of whether your moon's in fall or dignity or whatever it is. Everybody has strengths and weaknesses, and so I don't want this to sound like I'm saying that, if you've got a Scorpio moon, you've got it harder than anyone else. It's not true. Some people have difficulties in other areas of their charts. I just want to make that clear, that I'm not saying that, that's the most negative thing. It's not. It's just that by astrological definitions, the moon in the sign of Scorpio is considered to be fall, i.e. one of the most difficult positions. Anyway, I hope I didn't overstate that point. Please share if you've got a Scorpio moon. Please share your experiences and leave me a comment. Thanks for watching, everyone.